Good evening. You're listening to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Xtreme Studios in the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I have the young 20-something Professor Pixel, also from such Florida, with me here tonight. We continue tonight talking about Forever Night, Season 1, Episode 9, the sensitive vampire detective who works the night shift, who wants to repay society for his misdeeds. You know, Pixel, we like this show a lot. It's not very popular, and I don't care because I got to be honest with you. Out of all the episodes and some of the vampirisms we've had in the show, this is probably one of the best episodes so far. It's pretty obvious like what's going to happen and the lessons learned, but sometimes everything just sort of fits together and everything works. There's nothing that stands out apart in here that's really bad or wrong. And for some reason, I don't know. I just feel like this is a half letter grade above some of the episodes we've seen. In other words, it's better than filler. It's one of the few short ones that I think would probably stand out for Season 1, but we'll see what happens as we continue our Forever Night Season 1 episode by episode review. What's your initial take on this episode?
My initial take is I'm a little surprised because while I did enjoy much of the exploring of vampire lore, making the vampire that this episode will do, it's so predictable and it's disappointing. Like, yeah, I wonder if they're ever going to mention this brother ever again, because I don't remember a mention of him ever before, and this is the 9th episode, so they created one just to.
Well, maybe we'll see Shanky's wife, or maybe he doesn't have one. I don't know either.
Yeah, I guess
we're talking, of course, about Natalie's brother.
Yes. Natalie has a brother. It is revealed at the very beginning of this episode as he is getting ready to go to work, which is going to the police station because he is a public defense attorney, and he is going ahead and he's heading to the station, and there is a big a high profile
brouhaha brewing.
Yes.
What is it? What? Of course, because Nick Knight works the graveyard shift. What time of day is it?
Night.
Correct. But I wanted to ask you, because I'm being a little snarky here. This is early to mid 90s. He gets out of his car. What's he talking on?
What is he talking on?
A cell phone. A really fat flip one, kind of. Yes, the old school ones. Almost looks like a car phone. If you watch my device. Just wanted to point that out because, again, you're 20-something, so you need to know these things, sir.
I mean, I totally forgot. I didn't even notice because I did know he was talking to his wife, but I guess he was talking on a cell phone. For some reason, I pictured his wife right there. Right. Anyway, the station they were having a good time out. The coroner is looking lovely this evening, and her brother gets shot.
Yeah, you got a dude that's trying to get out, but the thing with this, when you say public defender, some people might say it's code word for bleeding heart liberal. I'm not going to sit there and say that it is. He's a good-looking guy. He's not too whatever, but the whole thing is again, the budget for this show's got to be about $100 because it's so cheap looking. He comes in there and we have a hostage situation going on, and he gets shot, but not because there's a really bad hip toss, and then there's that eye contact between Nick Knight and Natalie before we get our incredible opening too. Which, I need to stop talking about it. That's our setup for this episode. So let's be predictable. What's supposed to happen?
Her brother's dying. He's dead, Jim.
It answers the age-old question that by this time, if you were not a fan of Steven Seagal and seen any of his movies, when he asked the infamous question, anybody seen Richie? The answer is yes, because he got shot and he's going to die. This is where Richie ended up.
Yeah, and basically it leads to Nick having to decide, because Natalie she does. She just asks, you're immortal. You can cure him. You know how to save him. We know Nick's life. We know Nick's life, and she knows how he is in turmoil over the crimes that he has done, And it wasn't all just willingly. He was seduced into a dark path, and he's trying to repay that debt. And he's only been doing this for the last 100-odd years.
800. Well, he's been around 800, so
around 800. But he only he waited a long time before he started trying to cure, not cure, but you know what I mean, make up for it. And
to repay society for his sins.
That's right. And Natalie's like, well, he's such a good guy. My brother's a great guy. And yeah, no, he does seem like a loving guy with a loving wife. They have a kid. It's all very heartfelt, and you feel for him, and like, oh no, Nick, you gotta try. At the same time, it's a vampire. Yeah. So this entire time, she's not thinking. That's what it is. It comes down to her not actually thinking about it and saying, Nick, you're the only one who can do this. You're the one who can save him. And so while we have this, we have Nick having a flashback. It was, I can't even remember what the year's supposed to be, but
Middle Ages.
Middle Ages, that's right. He's on a
during the time of the bubonic plague.
Yeah, so they're on a beachside, and this woman's being chased.
What did she do, sir? Set the scene up. There's a reason why she's being chased. A clothed figure approaches a fisherman's bounty near the seashore. Two lone fishermen see this particular subject grab something and flee. This person stole their wares, and they run after this person who stumbles accidentally and screaming in pain, please, 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 don't hurt me. I only wish to eat. And these two guys turn around and realize the person that stole their fish, or whatever the hell it was, skin, I don't care.
Has leprosy.
That's right, a woman. But the point is they say it's a woman first. It doesn't matter, you stole it. We're looking for a woman anyway. You have to pay for it. So, you know, they're getting a little rapey on their mind until they turn around and she gives the shock of that leprosy face. This is tremendous. We don't have leprosy enough in movies.
Hashtag more leprosy.
Just saying. You were scourged. You were an outcast. You were the dregs of society, and you were a woman, and you were a thief. Some would argue the guys, had it coming, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we're going to rape you and take our food, or did she do it? But that's the whole dilemma, and you're absolutely right. That's the one thing about this episode that while it's so predictable, I thought it was still done very well, because the initial story is really, the backstory is usually the history one, right? But here I think it takes front and center, or at least it feels that way to me, because the original one of this mob boss that's in custody, that's like that shot her brother, is really, nobody gives a shit. I mean, they don't. It's just a way to drag it out. So Shanky's not really involved a lot in here, and it's all background chatter because you want to know, okay, Nick's going to end up turning this dude, and what's going to happen. And the problem I do have with Natalie, we've mentioned this before. If you're watching this on YouTube, because this is actually a hard find to get, that's one of the reasons why it's hard to broadcast it currently here in the United States, is you've got different versions. The Canadian version had a little bit more, I think, gore, for lack of a better term, more special effects. And then, of course, the European one that might have a few more minutes of establishing Natalie's relationship with Nick in a more than platonic manner, and showing that it grows. And, of course, maybe a brief glimpse of some nudity or those types of scenes. So I don't know, because we've seen Natalie seem to have the hots for him, and then it goes away. And now she's just totally like guilt tripping him into doing it. But what does Nick do? He still acts like he's that petulant, like 18-year-old that, still kind of weak and soft on the heart, because he acquiesces when we're watching this story unfold. Because the woman he turned in the back, she's kind of hot, you know what I'm saying? But what is she going to do?
No, they lose control. They become animals.
That's right.
Beasts. Nick himself was a beast for hundreds of years before he tried to find his soul again. And the idea that, okay, well, I'll do it from the beginning. He's done it before. And so we see him going ahead and trying again because he cares about Natalie. He does. Whatever way you want to go ahead and look at it. He cares about Natalie and cares about what she cares about, her brother, and is willing to go ahead and do it for her. It's a mistake. He knows it's a mistake, but he's still going to do it anyway. And so, yeah, he does it whenever he's on the last second of death, and they're like, oh, no, he's dead. And Natalie's like, oh, well, I'm a coroner. I'll take him out of here. Don't worry.
This scene is perhaps one of the best individual scenes in all the 9 episodes of Forever Night, because they're in there and Natalie's, as soon as it gets the flat line right, she's bitching out, what did you do? You killed him. It's like, shut the fuck up, Natalie. We liked you up to this point here, and now it's like, you know what? I'm gonna walk out and let you turn him, bitch. Even though she's trying to help Nick with the cure, that's why he's trying not to do anything. But them trying to get out of here is tremendous, because okay, she's like, whatever. And the lady doesn't like it. And then the main doctor comes in. And you know what? I swear, I'm going to be honest with you. This popped me hard. I didn't see this coming. He goes, I can't let you do that. And we're like, okay. So I'm like, is Nick ever going to use his suggestion powers that we saw in one episode, never again? And the reason why is because the doctor pulls up, well, you know, he's an organ. I flubbed it. He's an organ donor. I'm like, oh, he pulled the organ donor card. I'm like, oh my God, that's tremendous. They didn't milk it as much as they could have. I loved it. Sorry. I had to put that in there.
But then when Nick goes ahead and says, he changed his mind, trust me. And he doesn't use his powers of suggestion. No, he flips his badge. And that does it. Yep. And so they go ahead, they take him back to the loft and they lay him out. You're dead now. They go ahead and inform him. And they're telling his wife already. And it's like, it's all a little fast, isn't it? Obviously, they don't have that long in an episode to go ahead and get it done, but it feels all very rushed because this is a 1 episode thing. It's not going to be something to go ahead and pass it. Meanwhile, Nick's like totally enraptured by the beauty of the leper, the former leper, because she died.
She's a smoke show.
Oh yeah, she's very attractive.
I admit I wasn't seeing that, but she tells him that she, you know, her beauty's turned a lot of men's hearts, that sort of stuff. So, you know, he finds himself compelled, but of course she goes ballistic, starts killing the people that started messing with her.
Yep. And guess what happens to Natalie's brother? He goes, oh, I'm going to deal with the criminals that I have tried to put away for so many years.
Yep. I think Nick is probably at his most emotionally vulnerable and gives some of his most compelling dialogue when he's wearing his turtleneck. And this is when it shows up, because the ladies are on the couch and they're basically talking about, she's like, well, I don't believe you. And he's like, and this is where he's really good as an actor. He's like, it's true. She's like, yeah, I've been in it for a long time, and you know, it's going to take a while, and da 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 da. And then he starts stirring. So the ladies leave, and he goes up there and he gives them a bottle, the green bottle of blood, which is cool. But I thought actually the actor here, who I've seen him in a lot of stuff, and I just can't think of any, did a really solid job of portraying, you know, somebody there, because he doesn't come across as a wimp. He comes across as a really good guy, and his wife, they seem like a really nice couple. There's some sense of entitlement about them, oh my God, they're just so naive do-gooders in their adult age. That's not like that. They seem like a really nice couple. And the point is it's so unbelievable. He's going to be a vampire. I don't understand. And there's zero discussion about the logistics. They had to do it quick because they had to get the body out and everything too. And I'm like, they mentioned, you know, their little girl who's doing well with daddy being gone and stuff. Like, okay, we know that all this stuff is going to happen, but it's pretty obvious. But then of course Nick's got to go to work. So he's like, I'll be back. And he leaves the dude alone. I'm like, really, bro? So of course we know what's going to happen. And what's that, sir?
No. Guy goes out and he starts
whacking fools, yo.
Yeah, he does a superhero move where he goes out and some poor guy is like getting mugged, and so he goes ahead and he like takes the guy and pulls him off, and the muggy,
yes, exactly,
is thankful at first, but then sees the beast because that's what he's totally.
Well, because we get the vampire look from somebody else, right? We got it from I keep saying LaCroix. I know it's not how it's pronounced, but LaCroix. We saw it with Jeanette a bit, right? But we get to see it at him. And I'm like, this dude, it looks good.
We get to see it with 2 people this episode.
Yeah, that's right. We get an above average vampire budget for this episode.
Yep. And it gets to a point where there's murders across town. But these are scum of the earth. This is the small bit that Shanky has. He gets to say, but these guys kind of suck. So is it really that bad? We still have to look into it, Shanky. Okay. And Nick, he realizes, like, just he tries to deny it, but the more it just keeps stacking up. He goes to Jeanette, and Jeanette's like, "You turned him? What the hell would you do that for?" She's warned of that. You know what this does. You know what that's like. And so he created a new monster. And it gets to the point where he goes back to the loft with Natalie, and they're going to discuss how to deal with the problem. Luckily, the problem comes to them.
Well, before we get to that, because this is getting to be the third act here, the last scene or two, the one thing I thought was kind of is, like I say, we get a lot of the vampire vision stuff going on, because Nick hears on there that there's a mugging, and Shanky's like, "Hey, wasn't that up in your old part of town?" And so he realizes, oh my God, that has to be it. So we know there's going to be a confrontation. The interesting thing here too, because we haven't really talked about LaCroix or even Jeanette's kind of toned down, even though she's still hot for him. The point is it's not a real episode of Forever Night, and I don't want them to overdo it, so maybe I have to space it out. But it's not a real episode of Forever Night unless there's a Raven scene where he walks in there and we get that funky, like 35-degree tilted angle kind of shot or whatever with the green and blue light stuff that's really just bad, and then the 90s stuff playing in the background, and they're talking and flirting with each other, or she's flirting with him really. And I thought this is interesting because we've gotten hints of the fact that we know this bar is a place that they congregate. She's like, whatever you do, you're going to be in charge of it. No, I could never control my urges. That's why, she doesn't say that she hasn't turned anybody, but you get the sense that this is something that's been discussed, but that the rest of the vampire community is going to be like, "Hey, yo, bro, you need to keep your fools in check, yo." And it's like, I don't know why I'm speaking slang, but it seems appropriate because you got this guy that's going to be turned just like the chick lepers turned. We know it's not going to work out. And so the whole subplot that we've ignored about the mob boss with this one pretty kind of bitchy lady who's real serious about wanting to give testimony. It was been scared to. She gets kidnapped. So the bad dude that got out with the guns got her, and he just whacks her in the face. I'm like, this is cool. We're getting some dopey violence in here. This is nice. We're getting like the serious scene, and then we get the real scene that we want here too. So, like I say, it's a little bit opposite what they do. But my only problem here is when we get to the final fight, because Natalie brings his wife there, and again, there's been no discussion of logistics. They're gonna tussle, right? Because he tried telling some of the vampire rules, which you and I mentioned. We're not sure what they are, but we do know crosses will burn them, the sunlight will destroy them, but after a while you can gain some limited immunity to it. So he's giving them the vampire rules, right? So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This episode's significant, if nothing more than we're getting some parameters and constraints on the vampire world that they're setting up. So I'm liking this. And then we have the final fight, sir.
Yeah, because
this is tremendous for TV fights.
Yeah, but at the same time, we saw it coming. We know how it's going to go. It's
Nick gets owned by his own protege, who's really shouldn't, because you always say that you're more superior if you're older, right?
Well, but it's that same thought process of one is allowing himself to just go ahead full ham, and Nick does not. Nick goes ahead and he holds back a lot.
True. That's true.
So that's why he's not doing as well. But ultimately he does get the upper hand. He wins, and it intersplices with the flashback of him killing the leopard chick because he realized.
How does he do it?
The leopard chick?
Yeah, how's he whack her?
Doesn't he like set her on fire, tosses
he just like shoves her back in the fire there that's on the beach at nighttime. It's tremendous after she's given all these quotes and stuff. Because this is what I mean by dopey special effects. You got Nick, like you said, holding back, and they're struggling, and he had already mentioned about how crosses whatever. Well, I guess he's got an ancient one there for who knows why, a wooden one, and it gets opened up, and it's the old, I'm going to put your cheek and face on the grill on the stove, and we're going to tease that angle up so that way the guy that's working the dry ice underneath can hit the button sort of effect. Then that's when Nick turns into, vampire Nick with his vampire fangs and eyes and stuff, and then gains the upper hand. But you see Natalie holding up the cross, and it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun. And the wife is just like freaking out too. But yeah, it's a lame fight, but it's tremendous in its lameness. And the fact that when he gets staked and he dies, the way they have the white light going on, getting super intense and bright, and then turning on the smoke machine and make it look like he's dissolving, that's tremendous quality value, I should say. Cheap. It's cheap, but it's done very well with the cheapness they have in here. This is good.
Yes. I agree with that. But so overall, the episode, it is entertaining. It's enjoyable. It's just very predictable, and I'm kind of disappointed with that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I remembered. I swore as soon as I finished that episode, oh, this is going to be a fun conversation, and it is. It always is. But I expected a different take from you. I don't know why, but I didn't think you were going to be as big of a fan of this one as you were. So
well, sometimes you get an episode where like it's competent, it's structured, and you've produced something, right? It's like when you write a draft, you never write 3 awesome chapters. Everybody writes like a great first act or 10 pages, but then you got the second act, then you got the third act, and you got to finish it, right? So the whole thing is and some people think differently. One thing we've always talked about when we've done, say, our Twin Peaks review is that he'll just David Lynch will decide how long he wants a scene to be, or if it's extraneous or whatever, but he's got an artistic thing to him that he wants to put it in and screw what the office is telling him. The thing with this show is, again, it's obviously not a lot of money can be spent on it. It's got to be done in a certain amount of time. So sometimes things can feel rushed or slapped together, and editing can make a big difference. I just felt that for everything that we've known about Forever Night up to this point was done well in here. I guess the one thing I would say I'm surprised about, not necessarily in this episode, but 9 episodes in, is we initially got started off knowing there's a historic plot, which we call the B plot and the A plot. In this case, they're a little flipped, but we haven't seen really much development with him in terms of his backstory. But we still got about another 15 episodes or so to go here on season 1 of Forever Night. So I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's been wacky or surprising as some other episodes, which I liked, but it's dramatic and it's cool stuff. It really is. I liked it. I really did. We've had some cooler episodes of some different things. So this one just felt like they had a little bit more juice and everything just clicked for me.
That's good. No, I did definitely. I still enjoyed it, but it's just I had my views and you had yours. But
Leprosy, organ donor card. We got, it's probably, I'm guessing, about halfway through the episode. We got the turtleneck going on. We've got emotional abuse by Natalie, who's supposed to be his love interest. We got multiple vampires. We got flying vampires. We did get the Raven, although we didn't get any scantily clad strippers or women like that sexiness. This episode could use a little bit of that just because that's always better on a show like this. So that's like a 9 out of 10.
Well, they balanced it out because they had the leper who turned into a hot chick. So that we don't need the scantily clad women this time, just because we had that.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Forever Night, season 1, episode 9. I will repay. Yes, repent for your sins, blah blah blah, and all that with an incredible opening. Stay tuned for next week when we cover episode 10, and we'll talk to you then. Have a good night.
This is not a Dan Curtis production. I see where you got confused.